السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أنبياء الله جميعا، وعلى سيدهم وخاتمهم حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، وعلى سيدي ومولاي الإمام أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. My condolences to all the believers, all the followers of justice and truth and equality on the occasion of the departure and the death of the most pious man, the defender of the oppressed, the champion of justice and peace and equality for all mankind. That is Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Tonight is the eve of the 20th of the month of Ramadan. And now the house of Imam Ali in the city of Kufa is dark. His followers, his supporters are very subdued and sad because Imam Ali is wounded now. And in a few hours from now, he's going to leave this lower life and join the ranks of the prophets and the apostles, joins the rank of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he will be with his brother, his master, his mentor, his friend, his cousin, his father-in-law, Prophet Muhammad, and also with his lovely wife, loyal wife, Lady Fatima alayhi salam. When God speaks about Imam Ali in the Holy Quran, in chapter number 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 207, God says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن الناس من يشري نفسه ابتغاء مرضات الله والله رؤوف بالعباد. Among mankind is the one who sells his soul, seeking God's satisfaction, God's pleasure. And God is most certainly compassionate with his servants. What are the events that led to the martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam? And let's speak about his reign, his time during the Caliphate that lasted for 4 years and 9 months, and mostly was in the city of Kufa. After the murder of the third Caliph, Uthman ibn Affan, in the city of Medina by the revolutionaries, Medina was left with no caliph, with no leader for almost 7 days. So the Muhajirin and the Ansar, the immigrants who came from Mecca, and the Ansar, the helpers, the natives of Medina, they came to Imam Ali and they said, the only person who could save our religion, our faith, our community, our state is you. You are the closest one to Prophet Muhammad. You are the most pious. You are the most able and capable of keeping the Islamic society of Medina and beyond strong and healthy and united. And we cannot see another person who is able to do this job, unifying the country. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, "Utrukuni, leave me alone. Waltamisu ghayri, find someone else to lead you." He was not interested. Imam Ali had no interest whatsoever in a political position, because God had appointed him, ordained him. It's a divine ordination as an imam, universal imam. So he did not put his eye on the seat. He had no interest in becoming a caliph, but they insisted on him. They insisted on him. Ironically, some of those who insisted on him, they started a war against him 5 months later. Only 5 months later. And those are Talha ibn Ubaidullah and Zubair ibn Awam in collaboration with Aisha, the daughter of Abu Bakr. So he became the caliph, and of course some others did not pay allegiance to him. Usually a caliph, when he is appointed as a caliph, people come and shake hand with him. A gesture of paying allegiance and accepting him as a caliph, as a leader. Some people refused to pay allegiance to him. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas is among them. Zayd ibn Thabit, another companion. Hassan ibn Thabit, another companion. Who else? Usama ibn Zayd, the young man that the Prophet appointed him after his death to lead the Muslim army to fight the Roman. This person also refused to pay allegiance to Imam Ali. Imam Ali said, okay, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not asking you to pay allegiance to me. You are free. You are free. I am not going to force anyone or intimidate anyone to pay allegiance to me. If you love to pay allegiance, ahlan wa sahlan. You are welcome. If not, it's okay. But one thing I request from you, do not raise arm against the community. Do not agitate. If you don't accept me to be caliph, at least do not agitate and do not create troubles for the society, because we already have enough troubles in our society. The Prophet had told Imam Ali alayhi salam, and this hadith, my friends, is narrated by many Sunni sources. One of them, Al-Mustadraku ala al-Sahihain, an important reference of hadith in the Sunni tradition. Al-Mustadraku ala al-Sahihain. The other one, Kanzul Ummal. Kanzul Ummal, another encyclopedia of hadith in the Sunni tradition. Another book, Fara'id al-Sibtain, As-Simtain, and others, of course, other sources, reported this hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that the Prophet one day turned to Imam Ali and said to him, Ya Ali, سَتُقَاتِلُ مِنْ بَعْدِ النَّاكِثِينَ وَالْقَاسِطِينَ وَالْمَارِقِينَ. You're going to fight after me, these 3 groups, and you are the just ruler, and you are just when you fight them. These 3 groups are an-nakithin. Nakithin are those who breached the covenant, the contract with you, the breachers of the violators of the covenant. Nakatha. وَمَنْ يَنْكَثُ فَإِنَّمَا يَنْكَثُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. This word comes from the Quran. When you break your covenant, then this is nakth. So those are the first group. And this is a reference to the people of the Battle of Camel. Talha ibn Ubaidullah, Zubair ibn Awam, and Lady Aisha, the daughter of Abu Bakr. Those were the first group who waged a war against Imam Ali only 5 months into his leadership, into his caliphate. The second group, Al-Qasitin. Again, it is taken from the Quran. وَأَمَّا الْقَاسِطِينَ فَكَانُوا لِجَهَنَّمَ حَطَبًا. Qasit is the one who is unjust. And this is a reference to Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan and his army. The third group, Al-Mariqin, the renegades, the defectors, the seceders, and those are the Kharijites. And that is the battle of Nahrawan against the Khawarij or the Kharijites in year 38 Hijri. Imam Ali was keen on nation building the society, because society suffered from a lot of corruption during the reign, specifically the reign of the 3rd Caliph. There was a lot of financial and economic mismanagement. People were hungry. The wealth of the state was being appropriated and controlled by a few, And God says in this book, I don't want the wealth to be controlled by only few, and then the rest of the nation, 99% of them, suffer from deprivation and hunger and starvation. Don't do that. This is un-Islamic. لكي لا يكون دولة بين الأغنياء منكم. Don't make the money monopoly among very few. But that happened during the time of Uthman ibn Affan. Uthman being from the Umayyad dynasty. So he brought his entire clan into his cabinet. He appointed them in the government. He practiced nepotism and favoritism. So there was a widespread corruption. Do you see what is happening in Lebanon nowadays and some other countries on the verge of economic collapse? This was the condition, this was the state of the Islamic society during the time of Uthman ibn Affan. When rulers are thieves, they don't fear God, they appropriate everything for themselves, they steal, they are more interested in stealing than serving, then people are going to suffer, people are going to starve. Imam Ali said, you chose me to be a caliph, so let me focus on nation building, on recovering the economy, on helping my people. But unfortunately, there were some people who were sick and jealous. Mostly jealous, my friends. Jealousy is a disaster. Jealousy is the worst mental, psychological, and spiritual disease and virus. They were infected by this disease of jealousy and hubbud dunya, enchantment for this little, fast fleeing life. After paying allegiance to him, Talha bin Ubaidullah, one of the companions of the Prophet, Zubair ibn al-Awwam, he was a good companion of the Prophet in the beginning. But my friends, sometimes goodness does not continue. Don't take religion for granted. Maybe today you are good. We don't know what will happen to you tomorrow or to me. Are we going to continue this goodness? Or maybe we're going to face a test and we fail in that test. This is why in this book there is an important dua in the Quran. رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَيْتَنَا. O my Lord, do not let my heart goes astray and deviates after you inspired me with guidance. Keep me strong right to the end. Right to the end. As Zubair in the beginning was good, but his end was not good. Why? Because he was enchanted by the dunya. He is the first cousin of the Prophet and the first cousin of Imam Ali. His mother is Safiya. Safiya is the aunt of the Prophet. Safiya bint Abd al-Muttalib. So what happened to him? And he was one of the defender of Imam Ali at Saqifa after the death of the Prophet. And he was the one who said, we don't submit to others. Ali is the rightful caliph. And he was attacked by Umar ibn al-Khattab, and Umar took his sword and he broke his sword. Zubair was always with the Prophet, but unfortunately he failed in his last test. He didn't do good. This is why Imam Ali cried for him. He never hated him. Imam Ali did not hate the Zubair. In fact, when he saw him in the battlefield dead, in the battle of Camel, being dead, he cried for him. Then he took his sword and he looked at the sword and he said, Sayfun talama kashaf al-karb an wajhi Rasulullah. This sword has a history defending the Prophet. I'm sorry for what happened to him. I'm sorry for this bad ending. Sayfun talama kashaf al-karb an wajhi Rasulullah. He stood with the Prophet many times, but he failed, my friends. And we might even fail, by the way. We might fail in sometimes small tests. We fail and we lose our credit. It's a lesson for us. So those two came to him. They said, we voted for you, we paid allegiance for you. So now one of them wants to be the governor of Kufa, the other one wants to be the governor of Basra. Kufa and Basra being the most important cities during that time, like New York and Washington, let's say. Imam Ali said, but you are not qualified. I know your history. You are not qualified and competent to be governors. You may remain my friends, but I need those who are in the government to be qualified, professionals. They were angry at him. They said, but we are your friends, and you are supposed, just like any administration. When Trump comes to the White House, he brings all his cronies. Every single crony, according to the Quran, the natiha and mutaraddiya, every broken person, every failed person, every retarded person would come with him to the White House. When another president comes, he will bring his friends. Imam Ali said, no, I'm not going to bring my friends. I don't believe in nepotism or favoritism. I'm not going even to bring my family members. His brother Aqil came. He wanted more share from the treasury, more money from the treasury. Imam Ali said, I'm not going to give you. I love you. You are my brother, but you are equal with all other citizens in the society. He did not believe in favoritism. Neither the Prophet believed in favoritism or nepotism. These two things are the most dangerous thing. So the Prophet was fighting nepotism and favoritism. Imam Ali was fighting nepotism and favoritism. But today, all Muslim countries, they practice nepotism and favoritism, contrary to the Sunnah of the Prophet and the Sunnah of Imam Ali alayhi salam. This is why we are failing. We are failing, my friends. Imam Ali says, when you put the most qualified and competent and the professionals, you put them behind, and you bring your family members just because they are your friends and family, this is the recipe for the collapse of the society. And this is exactly what we see in many countries, many Muslim and Arab countries. So Imam Ali refused to appoint them governors of Basra and Kufa. When they saw the rejection of Imam Ali, they said to him, then allow us to go to Mecca for Umrah. Imam Ali said, you are not intending to go to Umrah. You are intending to rally people against me. But I will give you permission. You may go to Mecca. So they went to Mecca and they asked Aisha to come from Medina to Mecca. Now, why Aisha was here in the middle? I tell you why. Aisha, the daughter of Abu Bakr, she rallied against two caliphs, against Uthman ibn Affan and Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. Why she hated Uthman? Because when Uthman became caliph after the death of Umar, she and Hafsa, she the daughter of Abu Bakr and Hafsa the daughter of Umar, they both came to Uthman. They said to him, we want our share from the inheritance of the Prophet. Of course, they had some salary. Being the wives of the Prophet, they used to give them some salary, some money, but they needed more. They said, because we are the wives of the Prophet, ex-wives of the Prophet, we need more money, more than the average person in the society. Uthman said to them, listen, if I am not mistaken, when Fatima alayhi salam, the daughter of the Prophet, she came to your father Aisha and to your father Hafsa, asking for her inheritance, you said to her, your father Abu Bakr and your father Umar, they both told Fatima, the Prophet leaves no inheritance. You don't have a share in his inheritance. So how come now you guys, Aisha and Hafsa, are coming and asking for an inheritance from the Prophet? You denied Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet. You denied her. So how come now you are qualified for that inheritance? So he didn't give them. He said, you receive the salary that every person in the community receives. You don't have extra privileges. But of course, with Bani Umayyah, his clan, he would give them. He would give them open checks. Aisha left that meeting with Uthman angry at him. And she said, "Uqtulu na'thalan faqat kafar." This is her famous phrase. Murder Na'thal because he is a disbeliever. Who's Na'thal? Na'thal was a Jewish merchant in Medina. Somehow Uthman resembled him, maybe in his physical complexion, maybe. So she would refer to Uthman as being Na'thal, the Jewish merchant. So she said, "Uqtulu, murder Na'thal," because he disbelieved. And then she rallied people against him until Uthman was killed. Now that Uthman is killed, she started crying. You know why? Not for Uthman, because the one who succeeded him is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Had he been someone else, she wouldn't cry for Uthman. But because the successor now, the caliph, is Ali ibn Abi Talib. And Aisha did not like Imam Ali from the beginning, from her early days of the marriage with the Prophet. Because she saw in Imam Ali as her rival. Imam Ali had free access to the Prophet day and night. Day and night. The Prophet, I'm telling you, with full truth and honesty. And I can bring you from these books behind me, books of hadith, books of history, a proof that the Prophet could not afford missing Imam Ali, not even for a single day. Not even for a single day. The Prophet was attached to Imam Ali. Imam Ali was his sweetheart. Imam Ali was like his shadow. The Prophet carried Imam Ali when he was only 6 years old. He took him into his custody. The Prophet was obsessed with Imam Ali. Obsessed with his love. So Aisha did not like this. Though Imam Ali is 30 years younger than the Prophet, but the Prophet wanted him always with him. Always, always, always. Like his son. Aisha didn't like this. And sometimes she would raise this to the Prophet. She tells him, "Listen, I want my privacy. Ali is here in the middle. Is in the same room." She didn't like Imam Ali. This is why after the death of the Prophet, she brought her father to lead the prayers in the mosque. Long story, my friends. So the battle started in the month of Jumada, the first, year 36. They gathered in the city of Mecca, and she rallied the people against Imam Ali, that Imam Ali is responsible for the death of Uthman. This was her excuse. This was her pretext, the scapegoat, that Imam Ali behind the murder of Uthman, so we have to murder Imam Ali now. After rallying people against Uthman and causing his death, now she wants Imam Ali to die. This is al-Mu'mineen, wonderful Mu'mineen that they have such a mother. Congratulations for those Mu'mineen. Okay? But the answer is here in the Quran. Remember Surah Al-Tahrim. God says, وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا امْرَأَةَ نُوحٍ وَامْرَأَةَ لُوطٍ. Not any wife of the Prophet is necessarily noble. Some of them are noble, definitely, such as Khadija, such as Salama, such as Sauda, such as Zainab, such as Maria the Coptic, such as others and others and others. Safiya, who was Jewish before. They were wonderful, they were loyal, they were polite. But others were not. Were not. And don't force me to love them. We can't. We cannot be hypocrites. When we look at the right, we say right. When we look at the wrong, we say wrong. This is what God teaches us. This is what religion is all about. Religion is not about hypocrisy. Religion is not politics. Religion is when people do good, we say ahsant, you are excellent. When people do terrible, we don't kiss their hands. We don't praise them for doing bad. When they do bad, we don't praise them. This is why in this book, God compliments some people, praise them, and others, He curses them in His book. his book. Inna Allah la'ana al-munafiqeen. He says in his book that God curses the hypocrites. So, let's go back to the battle of Al-Jamal, the camel. So in the beginning there were 3,000 people rallied with her. Aisha, Talha, Zubair, remember these three names? They moved from Mecca all the way to Basra. On the way, many others joined them because they saw the wife of the prophets, companions of the prophets. And my friends, people are mostly naive. Trust me when I say this. Most of the people are naive, not intelligent. Their reactions is emotional, not rational. This is the problem. When people do not use their brain, they only use their hearts and their emotions, we end up in big tragedies. So they arrived in Basra. Imam Ali reached Basra. He negotiated them. He said, I don't like war. I don't like bloodshed. I like peace. Listen, this is not the way to rally against me, to incite hatred or war, to beat the war drums. Don't do that. It's not good for the society. The society is already tired, already exhausted, already deprived and impoverished. We should not add to people's misery. They did not listen to him. They said, you deserve death. They wanted to murder Imam Ali. So what do you do in this case? You just sit and watch them? You don't do that. Imam Ali said, okay, if you want to murder me and wage a war, I have to defend myself. So his war against them was a defensive war, which ended in a big catastrophe for them. Talha was murdered, and in fact was murdered not by the army of Imam Ali, by the army of Muawiyah, of the Umayyad. Marwan ibn al-Hakam was the one who murdered Talha ibn Ubaidullah. Zubair ibn Ammam was also murdered. Aisha collapsed from her camel. But Imam Ali declared ceasefire and he gave them general amnesty. He did not punish them. He did not punish Aisha. He came to her, he said, Aisha, once upon a time you were the wife of our Prophet. I'm not going to, though you deserve punishment for your mutiny, for your rebellion against a legitimate caliph, you committed a grave sin, you caused the death of thousands of people today from both armies, but I'm not going to punish you. I'm going to send you back to Medina. And he sent 40 women with her as bodyguards, but they were dressed in men's dress. Because if they were like women, they're going to be attacked by highway robbers. So Imam Ali chose women to be with her, but they were dressed as men. And he sent with her her brother Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, who was raised by Imam Ali alayhi salam, a good man. Muhammad is a good man, noble man. He's the student of Imam Ali, and who was ultimately killed by Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. So he sent with her brother Muhammad, and he gave general amnesty to all those thugs who were fighting against Imam Ali, against the legitimate leadership in the battle of the Camel. Then after that came the turn of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, the battle of the Qasitin, the unjust, the battle of Siffin, which also took place on Dhul Hijjah 36 until Safar 37, for 3 months. Lasted for 3 months. The army of Imam Ali were 90,000 fighters. The army of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan were 85,000 fighters. But the casualties were 70,000 people. Huge number, my friends. By that day's standard, it's a huge number. And that was because of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. Muawiyah, when Imam Ali became caliph, he was already the governor of Syria. And Syria was the richest province at that time. Syria was like the state of California, the Golden State. It had all the natural resources, all the beauty, all the gifts. So his state was the richest. and the most influential. And he was appointed in Syria during the time of Umar. So he was in power for almost 20 years. So when he saw Imam Ali becoming the leader, he said, no, if Ali is the caliph, I'm not submitting to him. Why? Because of the old grudge between Bani Umayyah and Bani Hashim. Muawiyah being from Bani Umayyah, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali, and the Prophet being from Bani Hashim. He refused. Not only he refused, he started to provoke Imam Ali. So he sent his troops to attack the Iraqi borders, Al-Anbar, which is a province in Iraq on the Syrian border. He sent his troops to attack Hijaz, Mecca and Medina. He sent his troops to attack Yemen. He killed the governor of Egypt, Malik al-Ashtar, who was the governor of Egypt. So he started provoking Imam Ali, asking for war. He was a warmonger. Imam Ali again had to defend his community, his state, his people. Safety and security are paramount, important. So the two armies met in Siffin. Again, Imam Ali sent him letters, pleading to him, oh Muawiyah, don't do this. I don't like war. Muawiyah, you have to quit. You are not compatible. You are corrupt, Muawiyah. I know your history. I know your history. وَمَا كُنْتُ Imam. Some people came to Imam Ali. They said, leave him as a governor. Leave him. He said, no. A corrupt person cannot be member of my cabinet, my administration. Because God says in his book, وَمَا كُنْتُ مُتَّخِذِ الْمُضِلِّينَ عَضُدًا. I don't take the misguided or the corrupt as aids, because you are defeating the purpose. If your purpose is islah, reforms, then you cannot bring corrupts. Corrupts are not going to breed reforms. They're going to create more corruption. So the two armies faced each other in the Battle of Siffin on the Iraqi-Syrian border. And the army of Imam Ali was advancing and winning until they reached very close to Muawiyah's headquarters. Muawiyah almost was killed. But then here, one of his friends and Lieutenant Islam, he came up to an idea when he saw the army of Imam Ali are winning and Muawiyah is going to collapse. He asked his army, the army of Muawiyah, to put the Quran at the top of the spears. See, imagine these are spears, rumh. So they put the Quran like this and they say, oh, let's have this book between you and us as a judge. Arbitration, tahkim. Let's put the Quran between us. Muawiyah, who never believed in the Quran, who never practiced the Quran, who never said the Shahadatain truly and honestly from his heart. Muawiyah was about authority and power. Muawiyah was about dunya. Muawiyah and his family are mentioned in this book as الشجرة الخبيثة, the cursed شجرة الملعونة, والشجرة الملعونة في القرآن. شجرة الخبيثة, the evil, the cursed tree, the cursed family. Now he brings the Quran in the middle. And the Prophet says about Imam Ali, علي هو القرآن الناطق. Ali is the spoken Quran. If you want to follow the spoken Quran, here the model, the example, right in front of you, and that is Ali. Now, Amr ibn al-As, he uses this. The story is long, my friends. So they forced, and some people in the army of Imam Ali, they said, okay, since he's rising the Quran, he's holding the Quran, let's go to the Quran. Let's go to the arbitration. Imam Ali said, no, this is a trick. This is deception. Don't look at him. Let's continue until we score victory. But some naive, I'm telling you, our disaster is from the naive people who do not use their intelligence. God says in this book, my book is only for the intelligent. لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. We have to work on the brain, my friends. Don't be naive. You have to read, you have to discover, you have to discuss. Don't take anything at face value. Don't believe everything you hear. You must investigate. So they reached this arbitration. Long story, and the arbitration was painful because the one who represented Imam Ali, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, was not a good negotiator. And they kept Muawiyah in power. Muawiyah remained as the governor of Syria. And he continued his ruthless attack on the Islamic society. As a result of this arbitration, another group from Imam Ali's followers came out and they said, we don't accept this arbitration. Oh Ali, you have to continue fighting Muawiyah. Imam Ali said, but my army, most of the army, they gave up. And I don't have more men to fight. Most of the army accepted the arbitration. They accepted ceasefire. They said, no, you have to continue fighting. Those group were known as the Kharijites, renegades. They were radicals and hardliners. Imam Ali says something very important. He says, what broke my back are two groups. Alimun mutahattik, a scholar, someone who's a smart, intelligent, but he's immoral. He doesn't have a principle. The other one is nasikun, someone, jahilun mutanassik, an ignorant worshipper. He is not immoral. He is a moral person, religious person, but he's ignorant. Those radicals, they practice Islam, but they practice it out of ignorance, not intelligence. So again, this group, the Kharijites, decided to fight Imam Ali, and he met them in the Battle of Nahrawan. So that is the third group. Al-Nakithin was the first, those who violated the covenant. Al-Qasitin was Muawiyah, the unjust. Al-Mariqin, the renegades, were the Kharijites. Imam Ali fought against them. They were defeated. After their defeat, they gathered in Mecca. They were mourning their dead ones. They decided to put an end to the misery in Islam, according to them, by murdering Imam Ali, Muawiyah, and Amr ibn al-As. So they planned, 3 people will go in one night, and that is the night of the eve of the 19th of Ramadan. One of them is going to go to Kufa to murder Imam Ali. The other is going to go to Damascus to murder Muawiyah. The third one is going to go to Cairo to murder Amr ibn al-As. The one who went to Cairo to murder Amr ibn al-As that night, Amr was sick. He did not go to the mosque. He sent his chief justice, Kharija ibn Hudama. So his chief of justice was killed in the mosque. And Amr ibn al-As was able to remain safe, but they captured that person by the name of Amr ibn Abi Bakr at-Tamimi, and they murdered him in Egypt. The one who went to Damascus to kill Muawiyah by the name of Al-Barq ibn Abdullah at-Tamimi, he was able to reach Muawiyah, but he, rather than hitting him with his sword on his head, he hit him on his buttock. Muawiyah had a huge buttock. He was overweight, obese. So he missed him. He missed the target. And he was captured and killed by Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. But the third one who came to Kufa, and this is God's plan. God's plan. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه. We have to go. Sometimes an accident, sometimes murder, sometimes natural death, sometimes at home, sometimes in the hospital. We have to go. Imam Ali had to go. This is God's plan for him. So Abdurrahman ibn Muljam al-Khariji came to Kufa, and he conspired with a woman by the name of Qatam. Qatam, her father and her brother were killed a few months ago in the Battle of Nahrawan. They were Kharijites. He conspired with her, and he promised to marry her if she helped him to reach Imam Ali. She found him 2 other Kharijites by the name of Wardan and Shabib. They helped him to purchase a sword and purchase some poison to poison the sword, so when the sword strikes, it will definitely kill. If not the injury, then the poison would kill. And they told him, listen, the best time to reach Ali when he's in the state of prayer, sujood, because Ali pays attention to his prayers. So he came to the mosque on the eve of the 19th of Ramadan, like last night, while Imam Ali was doing Salatul Nafila before Salatul Fajr. There is Salatul Nafila, 2 rak'ah. Imam Ali came that night from his house alone. He refused that Hassan and Hussein would accompany him. Though they were, Imam Hassan was 37, Imam Hussein was 36. They were adult. They would always go with their father. They would never leave him alone. And Imam Ali did not have bodyguards. The only caliph who refused. He kept refusing. His children, his companions, his disciples, they would say, we don't leave you alone. It's dangerous. You have many enemies. You have many people who attempt on your life. He said, no, leave me alone. I enjoy when I walk by myself. I don't want to create any barrier between me and the people. On that night, Imam Ali refused that his 2 sons join him to the mosque. So he left his house, which is only a few meters from the mosque. If you happen to go to Kufa, you will see the house of Imam Ali alayhi salam next to the mosque. And he walked a few meters. He came to the mosque. First, he raised the adhan. Though Imam Ali has a mu'adhin, a caller for the prayers, but that night he chose to raise the adhan. Allahu Akbar. His voice reverberated in Kufa. فما كان بيت في الكوفة إلا وسمع صوت الأذان. No house in Kufa, but they heard the adhan, powerful adhan, adhan al-Fajr of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the caliph, the man of God. He came down from the minbar after raising the adhan. He stood for salat and nafila before the morning prayers. There are 2 rak'ahs that are recommended. When he went for sujood and he raises his head from sujood, Abdurrahman ibn Muljam strikes him. He struck him on his head, assaulted him. Imam Ali alayhi salam fell face down to the ground, but he said, Fustu wa Rabbil Ka'bah, by the Lord of the house, I have achieved success. I have achieved felicity. This is my goal, is to go back to my Lord. When his family were crying around him, his son Hassan, Hussein, Zainab, Kulthum, he turned to them, he said, Ahla bayti la tabku. Please don't cry for me. فوالله ما فجعني من الموت وارد كرهته ولا عارض أنكرته وما أنا إلا كظامئ ورد أو كطالب وجد وَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ لِلْأَبْرَارِ. Don't cry for me, don't weep for me. I'm like a thirsty person in the middle of desert where there is no water. All of a sudden he finds water right in front of him. I find relief in death because I know I'm going to stand before my Lord. I'm going to have reunion with my beloved Prophet Muhammad, with my beloved wife Fatima alayhi salam. And then they heard the caller calling between the heaven and the earth, between the sky and the earth. ألا ألا تهدمت والله أركان الهدى وانفصمت العروة الوثقى قتل ابن عم المصطفى قتل علي المرتضى قتله أشقى الأشقياء. The foundations of religion today has been disintegrated and dismantled, and the most trustworthy handles of religion has been broken today. Today, the first cousin of Al-Mustafa, the Prophet, has been murdered. Today, Ali al-Murtada is being murdered. He has been murdered by the most wicked person. Tonight, the house of Ali is very subdued, is very sad. I'm going to tell you how his family are gathered around him tomorrow, inshallah, when we continue speaking about our Imam, our beloved Imam. Tomorrow, Sunday, is going to be the second night of Qadr, the night of power and destiny, and also the night, the eve of the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. عظم الله أجوركم وإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.